Okay, and you see there, we pray and more people are coming. It works every time. Okay, well, all right, now, I imagine that most of you've heard about the first law of thermodynamics, and you also know that there's a lot of people that like to break the law, and there's some laws you just can't break, thank goodness. And one of those laws is, well, the laws of nature, like the first law of thermodynamics, the second law of thermodynamics, the inverse square law, biogenesis. There's a lot of laws that you just can't break. But you know what? There's some physicists out there that are trying to break the first law of thermodynamics. And one of the reasons is because they think that if they can break that law, the first law of thermodynamics, that they can somehow then support the belief in biological evolution. And the first law, I think, is just the most amazing law of all of them. In fact, when I first started studying about creation science, when I heard of the first law that says nothing can be created or destroyed, I thought, well, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. What do you mean nothing can be created or destroyed? If I put a stick of dynamite in a Volkswagen Beetle, and every Volkswagen Beetle needs a stick of dynamite, it would blow up that Beetle and it would be no more. Well, that's not what it means. Okay, so it's more like this. You know, you've been camping and you throw a chunk of wood in the fire will burn up that wood. Well, let's just measure that wood. Okay, we'll say that wood weighs 10 pounds. All right, so we burn up that wood, it burns up into soot and ash and smoke, and then you have ash at the bottom. Now, if we could take all that ash and all that soot, everything, and bring it all back together again, now it's changed form, but if we could bring it all back together again, it would still weigh 10 pounds. So all you've done is you've just altered the form of it, but you have not destroyed what makes up that wood. Okay? Now, the most amazing thing I think about the first law of thermodynamics is that, well, it's the periodic table of elements. Now, if you had chemistry, you know about the periodic table of elements. You cannot get an element out of thin air. How did we ever get those elements? The elements of the periodic table of elements is a miracle. It's miraculous. Now, they've added to the periodic table of elements by making plutonium out of uranium. So you can get elements from elements, but you can't get an element from nothing. And you see, that's why the first law of thermodynamics is so amazing, is that you can't get something from nothing. You see, there are people who believe in the scientific impossibility that everything came from nothing. That violates the first law. But what's also neat about the first law is what I'm going to demonstrate here is Newton's 3 laws of motion. So the first law, it coincides with Newton's 3 laws of motion. So like, you know, what's the first law? If I remember it right, is that an object that is at rest tends to stay at rest until a force is acted upon it. Okay? Kind of like I have these 3 eggs right here. You know, the egg is faster than the eye. There. See that? All 3 eggs landed right in there. I've been worrying about that all night. Hoping I could get all 3 of those eggs in there and not out here because they're not hard-boiled. They are raw. Okay, so that one worked. So there, that was the first law. Okay, we're going to venture on now to the second law. And what's that?
Ready for you, I know.
Well, anyway, it's not a big deal. So now we're going to venture on to the second law, and the second law is force equals mass times acceleration. Boy, you can really sound smart when you say that. Force equals mass times acceleration. If you can say that, you can sound smart. You may not be, but it sounds smart. So, let's see, got to get out a ball here. So in this demonstration, no matter how many magnets, okay, by the way, I got 3 magnets here. These are neodymium magnets, they're N50s. Those are the most powerful magnets in the world, right there. They are immensely strong. If you were to take these 2 magnets and try to put them together, and you don't have something in between them when you put them together, good luck at ever pulling them apart. And if you get your finger caught in there, well, I'm sorry, you might survive. Well, so with these 3 magnets, no matter how many magnets I put on there, I cannot speed up the ball that's going to knock over these cans. Okay? That's the first law once again. I can't get more energy than what I put into it. And it's like everything else. It's like information. Information is an awesome thing to think about, because if information is one of those things that you can't have without space. Now you think about that. Where did space come from? But in order to have information, you got to have space to put it. So you can't have information without space, and you can't have space without information. And you can't have any of it without energy, because energy has got to create information, but yet energy can be hard on information, but yet you got to have energy to make information. Okay? So all of it has to be there all at once. Nothing can evolve from something else. And so the point is how did you get those periodic table of elements? It's a miracle, because God is outside of time, so he can violate the first law of thermodynamics, make all those elements that we see in the periodic table of elements. So the elements are a miracle. Space, time, and information, that's all miraculous. Okay, so anyhow, I'm just going to roll this ball. By the way, it's called a Gauss gun. Did you pick up that ball for me? Thank you. All right. Yeah. Now for the fun part. Now you better get this on camera. I'm going to fire you. That's my trusted photographer. I don't pay him a thing, but he better do it right. Yeah, he will. Okay, so I got all these rockets loaded up with methanol, and this is just another force equals mass times acceleration. So in other words, you know, if you know the mass and you know the acceleration, then you can figure out the force. If you know the force and you know the mass, then you can figure out the acceleration. See? Okay, you can sound real smart that way. So here we go. Without further ado, blow everything up. But now we're not done. Now we got to go to the bigger. We got to go to the bigger brother here. The bigger rocket as a grand finale. Here's the bigger brother. Okay. Never mind what I was doing with the paintbrush. Okay. I don't know why, but I still get nervous doing this. I do pretty much everything by the seat of my pants, and it's always worked. I have no real recipe except the fact that it works. And I just do things by feel. Now, don't you feel better? Yeah. Okay. There's one way to remedy this. Wear a gas mask the next time. All right, one more time. See, I can't do it again with the old bottle because all the oxygen's out of there. So I can only do this once. So you better enjoy it the first time. Some of it came out on my hand. Make it fly more. Okay, you ready? Yeah. Because this is the last time you're going to see this. That's going to be the last time you'll see it. That was pretty good. Did you get that on film?
Oh, yeah.
You better have.
Yeah.
Okay.